Okay. Batuk pula. Alright. So, just now we have been looking at different types of diversity, different types of biodiversity. Alright, so now we will look at the importance of biodiversity. Okay, kenapa pentingnya biodiversity ni kan? First of all, when we are trying to understand biodiversity, we might want to look at our forest. Okay, if you look at our forest, you know that we you know that the richness of tropical forest and also the abundance of tropical forests are very high, okay, compared to other types of forests on earth. Hutan-hutan dekat overseas tu, temperate forest for example, compared to tropical forest in Malaysia, memang nampak sangat beza dia, okay? Because in Malaysia, okay, bukan saja di Malaysia lah, okay, for tropical forest, we have a high diversity. Therefore, you can find different types of trees in it. Okay, kalau kita pergi hutan tu, macam it's very thick and dense, kan? Daripada bawah sampai ke atas, kat bawah kita ada pokok-pokok menjala. We have the forest floor, and then we have the climbers, we have the herbs, we have shrubs, and then we have woody plants, and then we have large timber trees. Tapi kalau dekat temperate forest, they do not have that types of layer. Okay, the canopy dia berbeza. Hutan dia selalunya bersih. When I was doing my PhD in England, sorry ya, batuk pula. When I was conducting my research in temperate forest in England, kita macam tak takut sangat tau masuk hutan dia because they are quite clear and clean. In fact, people over there, the residents within that area, they go for a walk in the forest and that is a norm. Macam kita, kalau kita nak go for an exercise or for a leisurely walk, we won't go into the forest kan? Kita pergi to the park. Dia pergi juga park but they would prefer being in the forest sebab forest dia lapang. Ada pokok-pokok besar, kat bawah tu ada sikit-sikit, nanti tak ada in-betweens. So lapang, kalau kita duduk kat sini, kawan kita about 5 meters away, kita boleh nampak dia berjalan. Tapi kalau kat Malaysia, masuklah hutan kita, about 2 meters kita dah tak nampak dah sebab penuh ni kan, macam-macam. So there is a difference between our forest and between tropical forest and other types of forest. So when we look at it that way, of course, having different types of species, different types of tree species, and also different types of animals within the forest, okay, that would be a place where the food resources are. Kan, dalam hutan tu ada pelbagai pokok buah-buahan. Okay, macam last month I had a chance to go for a visit in Mardi Sedang. Dia bawa pergi ke belah hutan dia lah, okay, hutan yang dia tanam tu. Ada macam-macam, okay, ada wild durian tree, lots of fruit trees, okay, they have all the rare trees macam pokok kasai. Probably student tak kenal lah kot, pokok kasai ni dia macam, ada orang panggil buah ajaib, buah dia tu, dia ada 3 rasa, lychee, mata kucing, durian. Saya pun tak pernah rasa lagi, okay, and then they have different types of fruit trees within that forest yang kecil, yang Mardi punya tu. Okay, let alone in natural forest kat dalam hutan-hutan kat sebelah Sarawak, sebelah Pahang semua tu. Okay, so the biodiversity, it is very important for us to conserve and preserve biodiversity of our forest, of our ecosystem, because that is where our food resources are. Okay, if not for human being, it is important for animals which inhabit the area. Alright? Itu kita baru cakap pasal forest, okay? And then if we look at different ecosystem, if we look at aquatic ecosystem, okay, there will be different species of fish, okay, within that ecosystem. So that is also important for us, okay, important food source for us. So we have to conserve and preserve, okay, the resources that we have. Apart from that, okay, when we look at health, when we look at the contribution of our rich biodiversity to health, okay, we do know that there are lots of research that has been carried out and currently being conducted to look at the potential of plants, okay, as part of the active ingredients in drugs, okay, prescription of drugs. Banyak pokok-pokok yang daripada pokok hutan kita lah. Alright. And then of course in a forest it is a natural gene pool for the animals and for the trees within the area. It provides habitats, okay, for the inhabitant within the area. The forest will prevent soil erosion, climate mitigation, carbon cycle and watershed protection. Climate change mitigation ni macam mana? Okay, if you look at the forest, okay, if you cut down the forest or for development, contohnya nak buka kawasan perumahan yang baru, okay, you will cut down most of the trees within the area. And we are not talking about kawasan yang sederhana. Okay, kalau you tengok, kalau dekat puncak alam tu, kan di hutan kat situ, nowadays, okay, if you go for a drive along menghala kayu atik puncak alam tu, you can see vast expanse of housing estates. Dan area dia sangat besar. And can you imagine how many thousands of trees that has been cut down? When you cut down the trees, apa jadi kepada haiwan yang ada di kawasan tu? They are also being put at risk. Okay, it's either they go and find other area for them to live, or they start to invade humans' territory. Okay, ada juga yang dah tak ada. Tak ada meaning bukan pupus, dia tak ada dekat kawasan tu, dah mati, they cannot survive. They cannot adapt to a new area. Okay, yang sekarang lebih panas lah because there are no more trees. So those are the things that makes us, that I want you to understand how important, okay, of us, how important for us to look after our biodiversity. Kita akan rasa macam, if I'm the one who look after the nature, it won't change a thing. Kan, ada ramai orang fikir macam tu. Alah, saya tebang pokok satu je, it's not going to change a thing. No, that is actually a wrong concept. Cara berfikir yang salah lah. That is how in biology we come up with a term called law of commons. Okay, law of commons ni maksudnya kalau setiap orang rasa tindakan dia tidak memberi any effect to the environment, that is actually the beginning of a destruction. Sebabnya katakanlah you duduk kat rumah kat kampung, you tebang satu pokok sebab you rasa macam semak kan. Okay, then you rasa okay, tak ada apa pun. Okay, this is actually, your action here is actually very minimal. It won't affect a thing. And then, if the same types of thinking are also being transferred, or also the same kind of thinking, kenapa? Second section ni saya dah macam tak berapa nak ni dah. Sorry ya student, saya tak tahu kenapa. Kenyang kot saya makan tadi. Alright, okay, never mind. Let's say you have the same kind of thinking and your neighbor or your friends or people within that village are having the same types of thinking. Kalau seorang tebang satu pokok in a village where you have 300 residents, 300 villagers, then 300 trees will be cut down without anybody feeling a bit guilty. Okay, not even a bit guilty. They might think like, that's fine. Okay, satu je pun tak akan merubah apa-apa. That is actually wrong. Okay, this is how we would like to cultivate, okay, the nature. We would like to nurture and cultivate the feel. Orang kata macam the feel towards the forest, towards the diversity in you, students, because you are the one who can change what we have at the moment. Balik kampung nanti, jumpa mak ayah ke yang duduk kat bandar ke, when you come across an area which is being disturbed, you can do something even though it is just a small step. Contoh, kalau dekat kampus ni saya cakap kat student, Kalau you duduk college, kan, you tak boleh tanam pokok, you tanamlah apa-apa dalam pasu dulu. Benda yang simple-simple. And then kawan you tengok, cantik lah pokok ni, dia tanam juga. And then after a while, you can see mungkin satu floor tu dah ada dalam 10 pokok. Pokok bunga ke, ikutlah pokok apa-apa, herbs ke apa ke. Okay, even though it's not that much, but actually it helps. Not in terms of conserving biodiversity, tapi it helps to yang kita kata aesthetic. Okay, it helps for you to feel a lot calmer. Okay, it helps to keep your mind busy. Kan, daripada duduk menor main phone je, it helps you to do something more meaningful. Alright, so this is actually, when we are talking about the importance of biodiversity, it is actually the way of thinking. Okay, way of thinking is very important. Alright, coming to the topic back again. Okay, the importance of biodiversity. It is also important for tourism industry. Okay, attractiveness for most tourism, especially the endemic species and recreational area. If you look at the Rafflesia, okay, Rafflesia has their very own season to bloom, and not many people are into Rafflesia. However, for those who know the uniqueness of Rafflesia, the ecological function of Rafflesia, they will find a way to go and see Rafflesia using their very own eyes. Tengok sendiri, macam really appreciate Rafflesia, taking a picture with Rafflesia, smell the pungent odor released by the Rafflesia. Walaupun bau dia bau macam bau not appealing kan, bau macam bau bangkai tu, tapi for those who are appreciative of Rafflesia, they will feel like that is a moment for them to remember. Okay, and then they will convey the same information, that information about Rafflesia within their circle. Bagi tahu pada kawan-kawan, ahli keluarga. Kalau dia balik bercerita macam, I went to Malaysia, in Sabah, Malaysia, and I come across a very large and smelly flowers, blah blah blah. Dia cerita, so orang yang dengar tu mungkin macam, oh menarik lah, naklah juga pergi Malaysia tengok Rafflesia, macam tu. So that will help. Okay, when it comes to biotechnology, modified crops and developed medicine using genes of native and endemic species is the in thing. Okay, currently the in thing. And also, last but not least, we have indigenous knowledge. Okay, indigenous people highly depend on biodiversity. They have used sustainable environmental practice while interacting with it or when assessing it. What it meant by this word is that if you look at indigenous people, orang-orang asal ni, okay, even though they do not learn about sustainable development, they do not learn about biodiversity, they do not have a chance to orang kata as simple as going to school. Okay, ada yang sekarang ni dah ramai yang pergi to school, but there are some of them who are being deprived of all of this basic education. Bukan sebab orang yang tak bagi, tapi probably due to the location, due to lots of other limitation, so they do not have the chance to go and learn about this. However, without formal education, they do know how to look after the nature around them, surround them. This why? Because they know how important the natures are for them. Because macam ni lah, the nature are the source of food for them, source of medicine for them. Okay, the nature is also where they live. Kan, sebab dia duduk tu walaupun dekat remote area, they have specific preference, okay, on where they are going to build their perkampungan tu lah. Okay, their own population, dia duduk kat situ je. Alright, and then when we talk about the indigenous people, sometimes they have more knowledge than us. Okay, kita ada ilmu dari segi inilah scientific knowledge. They also have knowledge, even though it is not scientific, but after time has proven that after some time, the knowledge that they have can be put into evidence scientifically. Kita cuma perlu kaji lah. That's why kalau kita pergi hutan nak kaji pasal sesuatu pokok atau sesuatu atau haiwan atau buah ke apa, we go and find the native people that lives within that area. Kita nak kaji pasal contohnya ada satu buah ni ada dekat kawasan hutan tertentu dan kat situ ada orang asal apa nama dia? Orang Senoi contohnya. Kita tanya dia dulu. Before we go and carry out our research project. Kita tanya dia, we try to obtain as many knowledge as possible from the indigenous people. Then you try to incorporate knowledge from the indigenous people with the basic knowledge that we have, and then develop that knowledge into something more meaningful than what we have at the moment. So that is the importance of biodiversity. And then we have another subtopic, the threats to biodiversity. Student saya nak tanya, can you tell me apa yang you rasa lah who do you think, bukan who lah, when we are talking about threats to biodiversity, sebenarnya organism dalam kingdom apakah yang paling banyak contributing a threat to biodiversity? Which kingdom rasanya? Intan macam jawab tapi tak dengar suara. Intan Nur Hafizah Intan nak jawab ke? Rasanya spesies apa yang paling banyak memberi kemusnahan kepada biodiversity? Ada orang boleh jawab? Aina Maisarah? Saya tak kenal tahu yang mana student, yang mana lecturer. Kalau saya terpanggil nama lecturer tu, minta maaf lah ya. Sebab lecturer asasi pun muda-muda, cuma comel macam student je semua.
Homo sapiens.
Homo sapiens. Why do you think is that so?
Human activities.
Human activities. Bukan ni ke? Bukan mammals ke? Mammals macam elephants because they are large, or mammals like tigers because they are very aggressive. Bukan tu ke? Bukan spesies tu ke?
Not really.
Okay, good. Okay, it is betul. Thank you so much, Aina. Yes, that is so true. We Homo sapiens is the biggest threat, to biodiversity. We are the biggest threats to the world that we live in. Kita duduk dalam ni, tapi kita yang musnahkan hutan kita. Kan? Kita means not us individually. Kita akan rasa macam, aku tak pernah macam gitu. No, not you. Us Homo sapiens as a whole. Because if you look at the history of the earth, kan zaman dulu kalau tak cerita kartun tu, kita ada zaman dinosaur semua kan. That is actually, of course semua sudah tahu kan. We do have that era. And then masa tu dinosaur tu pun dia dah menyebabkan kemusnahan juga. Because ada spesies yang jenis makan pokok tu, they eat a huge amount of shoots, young shoots, young plants of the forest. Sekali dia makan tu sampai berpuluh-puluh kilo. Beratus kilo pun ada. So they are large size. They have a huge body. And then they are dinosaurs yang jenis grazers ni. Dia jenis langgar je semua benda, merosakkan pokok-pokok kat situ. But then even though that happened, and then kita ada era yang macam Ice Age kan, and then kita ada different types of the world has changed so much, so dah banyak kemusnahan. But then based on scientific evidence, sekarang ni adalah yang paling teruk sekali. But we might think like okay je kan, it looks okay to us, but no, it's not okay compared to the history of how the earth looks like in the beginning. But then again, walaupun kita Homo sapiens is the biggest threat, then again humans adapt. Katakanlah dulu kalau kat Malaysia ni there are lots of forests around us. Kalau dekat kampung-kampung tu jaranglah kita tengok housing estates. Okay, sekarang even kampung pun dah banyak taman-taman perumahan. So things has changed so much. However, okay, human adapt. Kalau dulu ada pokok for shading, now we do not have as many trees as we did back then. We adapt by creating temperature friendly house. Okay, rumah yang dah tak panas sangat. Zaman dulu pakai atap kan, pakai atap, ada gap in between the staves of the wood kan. Sekarang semua rumah batu. Okay, kalau kita pasang aircon, dia the temperature will remains for quite a long time. Zaman dulu rumah kayu mana boleh pasang aircon, kipas pun panas saja gitu. So human adapt to that. Similarly, when we are talking about opening new area for development, of course, okay, that area is no longer providing food, no longer providing a source for medicine for human being, but we adapt by keep on having a research to have synthetic medicine. Okay, walaupun sekarang ni banyak kajian using natural products in drugs. However, the work on synthetic drugs are also ongoing and also orang kata macam keep on developing. Okay, so here when we are talking about threats to biodiversity, human activities contribute to declining biodiversity. That is so true. Okay, kalau tengok gambar ni, these are all due to human, not due to any other species. Bukan gajah, bukan tiger, bukan any other animals, but Homo sapiens. Okay, species become endangered and extinct for a variety of factors. Okay, endangered and extinct. If you look at this image here, this is air pollution. Air pollution, they're not so much about orang kata the health of the animal. Okay, but this is actually we are actually talking about the world. Okay, when we have lots of factories, we have lots of new development within the area. Okay, the polluted environment decrease the orang kata apa ya, kita punya immunity. Okay, decrease our immunity, and then that will lead to many other factors. Okay, that's why kalau dekat bandar-bandar tu, if you do not look after yourself, okay, then you will easily become ill. That is due to your immune system become weaker than before. So kena makan supplement, kena look after yourself. Tapi kalau dekat kampung-kampung tu, because the environment is much healthier, okay, health status ni, then compared to compared to big cities. And students, sorry lah students, saya tak tahu kenapa, but I think saya rasa kejap boleh tak I have a 5 minutes break, Dr. Syakirin. Saya rasa macam tak berapa dah ni. Boleh tak Dr. Syakirin? Puan Syakirin, Dr. Syakirin. Puan Syakirin. Sorry sebab saya rasa saya dah I hilang fokus sekejap.
Okey, boleh doktor, kita kita rehat sekejap. Okey. Okey, so kita kembali semula untuk sambung dengan sesi syarahan kita dengan Dr. Asmida. Silakan Dr. Asmida.
Okay, thank you so much our moderator, Madam Nur Syakirin. Alright students, so we are back with threats to biodiversity. Alright, let's move on with our next slide. Okay, this is this time around we will look at different factors that is considered as threat to biodiversity. Right, the first one we have habitat destruction. As I've mentioned just now, habitat destruction is the current issue that we are facing. We cannot run away from opening new area due to development. We have to live with it. So when we are talking about habitat destruction, it will lead to habitat fragmentation. What is habitat fragmentation? Habitat fragmentation is the process of breaking down large areas of habitat into a small isolated segments. For example, if you look at the Malaysia as a whole, we do know that we are separated into different states. Okay, kita ambil contoh Selangor. Okay, the state of Selangor. Within the state of Selangor, 50 years ago, we have quite a large number of forests in terms of size. Okay, large size of forests, but due to development within these states, okay, the habitat, okay, the habitat has been fragmented into smaller areas. Fragmentation, especially of the forest, okay, forest fragmentation affects all the organisms that live within the area. Okay, kita tak bercakap pasal pokok. Okay, sebab kalau kita tengok pokok, of course, okay, of course when we open up a new area, there will be so many trees that will be cut down and that will be cut down and also be cleared. Okay, we would like to look into the animals that inhabit the area. So this, when the habitats are being destroyed or being damaged or being disturbed, okay, the animal are now at risk of extinction or at risk of being threatened. All right. So habitat destruction is one of the factor that leads that is considered as a threat to biodiversity. In habitat fragmentation, there is a term called edge effect. So what is edge effect? Okay, edge effect happens where the species from the surrounding fragmented area may intrude into the habitat. Okay, saya tunjuk contoh ni ya. So student will have a better understanding on this. Alright, let's say we have a habitat. Okay, initially this is how it looks like. We have interior species and then we have the edge species. Okay, interior species ni macam bukan macam lah. Interior species is animal species that lives within a forest. Okay, yang berada dalam kawasan hutan tu. Okay, that lives within the forest. Let's say we have rhinoceros, we have wild birds, and then we have tigers. Okay, and then we have edge species. Edge species ni adalah animals that lives together with human. Alright, we have domestic animals. We have animals that has been reared, okay, for humans itself. When fragmentation happen, contohnya kita buka kawasan ni nak buat perumahan, so you have to cut down most of the trees kat kawasan sini. Alright, you fragment the area. Ataupun kita nak buat highway contohnya dekat sini, okay, kita tebang semua pokok kat sini. So what happen is that the edge animal, alright, the edge animal over here, which originally inhabit this area, will now has to relocate themselves. Okay, they have to relocate. So when fragmentation happen, interior habitat is decreased. But kita dah ambil kawasan dia kan? Okay, the edge habitat and the edge species increase. Alright, so this is what happened when fragmentation happen. This is the impact or the consequences of fragmentation, where the interior habitat will decrease. Kan tengok hutan ni berkurang. The species within the habitat will also decrease. At the same time, okay, the impact dia tu, the edge habitat will increase and the species of the edge habitat will also increase. Yang ruginya apa? The interior species, because the habitat are now reduced and also their species are also being reduced due to them not able to adapt because their habitat are now being disturbed. Okay, that is what we call this is the process and also the effect or the impact of fragmentation. Alright, the second factor, the second threat for biodiversity is overexploitation. Okay, Overexploitation tu maksud dia excessive use of species that have economic value. If you look at our aquatic ecosystem, especially the marine ecosystem, okay, we have enough sources to get us by. Okay, kita memang ada banyak ikan-ikan, banyak sumber-sumber laut yang kita boleh makan. The problem is that when you get greedy, okay, when you get greedy and you tend to over-exploit the resources that we have. So over-exploiting meaning that you obtain or you used, okay, the resources at a faster rate than natural populations can recover. You ambil sangat banyak sampai ikan tu would not have enough time for them to breed, kan? Sampai maknanya the orang kata the life cycle of the aquatic organisms within the area is being disturbed. In that case, when this happen, dia takkan ada enough time to recover. So bila tak ada enough time to recover, ikan-ikan yang you dapat tu tak sempat nak membesar, you dah ambil. So bila you ambil ikan kecil, ikan besar termasuk ikan kecil tu, jadi you do not have enough food resources. You get what I mean kan? Berbelit-belit ayat saya ni. I hope you get what I mean. Okay, similarly happen for wildlife poaching. Okay, in our forest we have so many different animals that has economic value. For example, kita ada kat sini rhinos, tigers and pangolin or the ivory of the elephant. Last time I had a meeting with Perhilitan, they mentioned that tahun ni tahun 2021, I think earlier this year ke bila masa saya tak ingat, custom, okay, our custom department managed to put a stop to a syndicate on which they sell illegal, masa tu illegal, apa nama binatang tu, kura-kura, okay, kura-kura, tortoise, on which they are planned to sell to Vietnamese. Okay, orang Vietnam memang suka tortoise tu untuk perubatan. So the thing with that tortoise is that it is very valuable for medicinal purposes. Okay, kita dekat Malaysia mungkin tak biasa sangat guna, but they really value that types of tortoise due to their medicinal benefits. The thing with that tortoise, when they are being extracted away from their original habitat, which is the forest, it actually affects the food web of so many other animal species within the area. Kita tak nampak directly. Let's say when you look at food web kan, macam kita belajar masa sekolah menengah, masa mungkin asasi sekarang kan you belajar, when you look at food web, you start from the very beginning lah, katakanlah we look at food chain dulu, a very direct one. Okay, you have caterpillar which will be eaten by small birds, and then the small bird will be eaten by the larger birds, for example the hawks kan. Itu paling simple lah, direct and simple food chain. But in the forest we have food web. Okay, jarang kita ada food chain. Okay, very direct one. We have food web. So if you remove one animal species from the food web, it will also affect the rest of the food web. You can't see the impact or the negative impact of the removal of the original species within a short time, but the impact of that can only be seen after a long time. Tapi masa tu kita dah nak reverse dah. Okay, this is over-exploitation. Similarly for overfishing yang saya cerita tadi lah, and then we also have destructive fishing. Destructive fishing is also part of over-exploitation. Kenapa? Sebab kita nak dapat hasil tu banyak kan. Okay, yang ini destructive fishing ni macam when you use fish bombing or you use cyanide fishing, or kalau yang macam yang popular dekat kalangan kita tu fish bombing lah. Kan dia bom tu dengan ikan-ikan kecil pun mati. Alright. Kalau dekat laut tu it will not only affect the fishes, it also affect the corals, right? This is some of the examples here. Yang saya tak sebut tadi, this one lah, recreational hunting. Okay, they hunt the animal not for food, not for medicine, not for any important or meaning or valuable ataupun reasonable purposes, but for fun. Okay, this is also some of the factor that affect our biodiversity. The third one, introduction of new species. Kalau kita tengok introduction of new species ni baguslah kan, kita introduce new species to a new habitat or new area, so that actually should be good kan. But that is not the case. Kenapa? Because non-native species that non-native species that were introduced in an ecosystem initially to control pests or introduced for hunting, for leisure or ornamental reason, later on give negative impact to the ecosystem. Okay, at first, okay, the introduced species are being introduced to a new area with good intention, but then again it gives bad influence or bad impact or negative impact to the habitat itself. All right. For example, there will be a predation, okay, an interaction called predation between the native species and also the introduced species. Okay, and then there will be a competition for the resources and habitat among the native and non-native species. And then there will also be diseases, okay, that has not been there before, and then you have that disease now due to the introduced species being introduced into the area. Macam kita cakap pasal ni lah illegal immigrants, okay? Similar things happen. Alright, when they are here, okay, they will compete with us. Okay, they will compete with the residents, Malaysian residents. And then some of them yang tak, sebab kita we have our very own immunization program kan, kita vaksin daripada kecil. You have that table, that specific time for you to go for a vaccination. But people from other country which come into Malaysia illegally, okay, dia tak ada benda-benda tu semua. So some of them brings along with them unknown disease, sebab yang macam dulu TB dah lama tak ada kat Malaysia, currently dah muncul balik, benda macam tu lah. So kalau kita tukarkan ke the same situation into animals and plants, non-native species are also able to introduce disease and parasites to native populations. Okay, and usually the introduced species are much more robust compared to the native species. Okay, kalau kita tengok macam pokok akasia kan, tahu kan pokok akasia kan? Pokok akasia is not native to Malaysia. However, they are all over. Kalau you keluar dekat tepi-tepi jalan tu memang akasia. Kalau pergi dekat sekitar kampung pun ada banyak pokok akasia pokok akasia. Pergi area semak-semak tu kan, shrubs semua tu pun banyak pokok akasia. In fact dekat UiTM ni pun sangat banyak pokok akasia, almost everywhere, because they are orang kata they are non-native species, they are introduced species, tapi at the same time they are very robust, they have a very high dispersal rate. Okay, that's why they are now surviving in a new environment at the expense of the native species. Itu yang kita tak nak lah. Contohnya macam illegal immigrant datang Malaysia, dia kerja, kemudian dia mendominasi kawasan-kawasan perniagaan di Malaysia. Itu kita tak nak lah kan. Macam tu. We have to curb this process from keep on happening, right? This is so introduced species is part of the factor that is contributing to loss of biodiversity. Alright, this slide is also still on introduced species. Saya bagi satu contoh lah kat sini ya. We have the occurrence of numerous alien freshwater fish species has been introduced in Malaysia. Yang ini adalah spesies-spesies tilapia. We have native tilapia in Malaysia. Oreochromis, the genus is Oreochromis, so we have native Oreochromis, but we also have introduced species. Alright, so what happened is that the native species usually cannot compete with the non-native, with the new species, with the introduced one. Selalunya the introduced species are being introduced into a new habitat because they are known to have a robust mechanism. Sama juga macam kita ada honeybee kan. Ada satu contoh tu, African honeybee being introduced to, saya tak ingat kat mana tempat tu, I think somewhere in the USA. African honeybee being introduced in one of the states in America to improve the honey production in the states. However, the African honeybee ni, they are surviving and keep on breeding at a higher rates at the expense of the native species. Native dia masa tu Italian honeybee yang native tu. So after some time, there is a significant reduced number of the native honeybee. So what happened is that yang African honeybee ni is very aggressive. Ada yang terlepas keluar daripada kawasan yang dah dia plan tu kan. It goes and attack local people. Dan dia sangat agresif dan dia membiak sangat banyak. So that creates havoc within the area. And then the government at that area lancarkan satu kempen lah untuk memusnahkan African honeybee, which is the introduced species. Okay, similarly for the case yang tilapia ni lah. Okay, dia makan haiwan-haiwan lain. Okay, dia makan haiwan yang asal tu. Right. So this is also a threat for biodiversity. The next one we have pollution. I won't go into details for this one. Saya tahu student semua tahu kan. Saya sikit-sikit lah. Okay, for example, we have acid waste that is seeping from mines. Okay, so acid waste that seeping from mine tu dia masuk ke dalam sumber air bawah tanah. Okay, underwater resources. And then we have greenhouse effect and climate change. I'm sure that most of you would agree with me that the world's getting hotter. Okay, the temperature is rising. The temperature gets you get you get more uncomfortable compared to a few years back. Okay, this is due to greenhouse effect. Okay, all of these orang kata macam tak dapat dielak lah. Okay, tak dapat dielak when you are bringing your country from developed country, from underdeveloped country to developing country and then to developed country. Okay, tak boleh nak lari. But what we can do is we have to find a way to mitigate the process, or we have to find a way to lessen the impact of our wrongdoings. Okay, wrongdoings ni, pollution tu macam kalau kita dah buka kilang, kita susah nak elak daripada kilang tu secreting gases, atmospheric gases that will affect the nature. But what we can do is kita boleh cipta filter yang boleh tapis kan komponen-komponen tertentu, and then we have to look into penguatkuasaan lah, okay, pegawai-pegawai that come and control, okay, the release of atmospheric gases from the factory, or the release or secretion of liquids which contains pollutant from the factory to the water. Macam kalau you lalu Nilai tu kan ada kilang tekstil kan, so that is important. Okay, textile industry is important, but then again you have to have a control over it. Kita tak nak lah kita dapat ekonomi kita berkembang tapi at the same time sumber air kita tercemar, tak ada air nak minum, macam itulah. Okay, so you can have your development, but at the same time you can have your nature with you. So you have to be in between, right? Alright, so implication of the threat to biodiversity. Okay, Deforestation and draining of marshland can decrease the soil fertility, increase risk of flooding, contaminate water supplies, and also loss of genetic diversity. Alright, so yang itu deforestation on marshland. Okay, deforestation and draining of marshland. Sebab bila dia dah dry up, okay, it will decrease the fertility of the soil. Alright, it will increase the risk of flooding. Why? Because the area, the marshland area can no longer absorb, okay, high volume of water when there is heavy downpour. Okay, and it will of course it will contaminate the water supplies due to this process as well. Alright, kalau deforestation tu kita dah cerita tadi, okay, increase global temperature, increase global temperature because of less evaporative cooling from the trees, rainfall may decline and droughts may become common. Okay. And then cause climate change pun kita dah cerita, tapi saya nak bring your attention to this one. Carbon dioxide in the atmosphere enables the air to trap the sun radiation. Okay, when you have higher concentration of carbon dioxide within the atmosphere, that layer within the atmospheric surfaces ni yang ada banyak carbon dioxide, it will trap the sun radiation. Okay, so that is actually one of the negative impacts of high CO2 concentration. That's why kita kena tanam banyak pokok. Okay, because pokok tu, trees, they use up CO2 in their photosynthesis process, and in return they release oxygen. So planting more trees, or kalau macam student buat tu replanting project kan, it helps a lot. Okay, in fact sekarang ni kita ada kempen penanaman 100 juta pokok oleh kerajaan Malaysia. So me myself through my course code kita lah, subject code kita Bio 464 Ecology, we have a project for this semester on which each and every student who register for Bio 464, they are required to plant at least one tree, true tree, bukan maknanya pokok lah. Okay, definition pokok tu sendiri yang ada true branches kan, true leaves, true ni sebelah, dia bukan pokok cactus tu, bukan. Okay, the true tree. Okay, they are required to plant at least one tree, and they have to documenting the process using a video and upload on YouTube. So we are hoping that towards the end of this semester, sebab kita ada lebih kurang 100 student, so hopefully akan ada 100 pokok lah yang ditanam di kawasan masing-masing. So this is our small effort, okay, small effort to help to help in preserving and conserving our nature, okay, our biodiversity. So setiap student tu dia tanam pokok yang lain-lain lah. Kan pokok yang simple-simple je, dia tanam, ada yang tanam pokok bunga raya, bukan pokok bunga lah, tapi ada yang tanam pokok bunga raya, ada yang tanam pokok buah macam tu. So simple thing, sebab seorang tanam satu je, but hopefully it will amounting to at least a significant impact in helping the environment. Alright, so tadi kita cerita pasal conservation kan, alright, so what is the importance of conservation? First of all, for utilitarian reason. Utilitarian ni maksudnya kegunaan kita, okay? Pragmatic reason to ensure that ecosystem can supply enough sources for food, medicine and industrial food product for human being. Itu semua tu untuk kita juga, okay? Kita yang rosakkan, tapi kita kena jaga untuk kita juga. And then for ecological reason, also for human being, okay, juga untuk haiwan-haiwan lah dan pokok. Conserving forests will protect the watershed, balance the biogeochemical cycle, thus preventing erosion and flooding. Okay, you do know that when you clear up a forest, okay, that is actually among the main reason why we have landslides, and why we have flash floods. Okay, kalau dekat bandar-bandar tu biasa je. Hujan lebat sikit je, flash floods. Okay, this is due to the area within huge cities. They're no longer having lots of trees, and that will keadaan di mana less trees are around menyebabkan air tu tidak dapat diserap masuk dalam tanah. Sebab kawasan-kawasan kita pun kita dah tar kan, kita dah buat bangunan, kita dah buat jalan, kita dah buat man-made structure. So no more no more open soil. Okay, no more open area on which the water can be absorbed into the underwater system. Kat bawah tu tak ada. That's why jadi flash flood. Sama juga for erosion. When there is far lesser trees within the area, especially kawasan berbukit, so erosion will easily happen. Okay, that's why kita perlu jagalah. And then we have aesthetic reason. Okay, untuk cantik, kecantikan. Okay, this can be seen in recreational area. Kita tanam banyak-banyak pokok. It makes it memberi giving an aesthetic value to the area. Kan? Kalau kita tanam banyak pokok tu cantik berbanding kita buat banyak structure yang orang panggil structure yang kaku. Okay, macam arca semua tu, that is fine. But if you have plants around it or flowers around it, it will look much better. And then last but not least, we have ethical or moral reason. Okay, it is our duty to protect the forest, to protect the flora, fauna and the ecosystem. We need to do that for our future generation. Kenapa kita rasa penting to conserve our biodiversity for future generation? I can see it now. Dulu masa saya muda-muda, masa saya sekolah-sekolah, I can't really see the reason why I have to conserve and preserve our biodiversity. Sebab saya muda lagi. Sekarang, saya dah hampir separuh abad ni, I can see how important it is. Contohnya, there are wild fruits and also there are wild shoots that yang saya masih kecil dulu pernah makan. Okay, contohnya pernah dengar tak buah kemunting? Ada siapa pernah dengar tak buah kemunting? Student, are you still with me?
Yes, tak pernah.
Tak pernah
Tak pernah.
Yang mana tak pernah tu, okay, bagus. Yang pernah tu pun sangat bagus sebabnya yang pernah tu, pernah tengok ke pernah makan?
Dua-dua tak pernah.
Dua-dua. Yang tak pernah dengar tu bagus sebab apa? Because I will show you what you have missed. Okay, tapi yang miss tu pun kita masih lagi boleh selamatkan. Okay, the thing with kita panggil rare trees rare fruit trees ni, rare fruit trees is actually pokok yang native to Malaysia, native to our tropical country, yang dulunya ada, sekarang dah kurang. Bukan tak ada, kurang. Kalau saya tak payah tanya orang lain, saya tanya anak saya je. Okay, I have a 16-year-old daughter, saya ada 3. Okay, the eldest one is 16-year-old. She has never heard of buah kemunting. Tak pernah dengar, apatah lagi tak pernah tengok, tak pernah makan lah kan. And I asked my cousin who is 26 years old, saya ingat dia tahu, dia pun tak tahu. Tak pernah dengar, tak pernah makan, tak pernah tengok, tak pernah lah. Nothing, okay. Tak pernah dengar apa perkataan tu. So I was quite taken aback because I thought it's common. Saya ingat buah kemunting is common and everybody knows, kan. Sedangkan orang umur 26 tahun pun tak tahu, apatah lagi kanak-kanak yang umur 10 tahun, 6 tahun, lagilah dia tak tahu kan. So what I did was, when I went to a nursery, okay, masa nursery yang beli pokok tu kan, what I did was I bought rare fruit trees dan saya tanam at home. Why am I doing that? Because I do not want my child to miss out on that. Sebab masa saya kecil, I have fun going through the shrubs, kan kita nak pergi jalan-jalan kampung tu, lalu-lalu dekat semak-semak tu, jumpa pokok kemunting, kutik-kutik makan, dia rupa dia macam berry. Dia kumpulan berry lah sebenarnya. So I do not want my child to miss out on that. So saya tanam dalam pasu kat rumah, and saya tanam kat depan pagar rumah saya. And pokok dia memang cantik. For those who have not seen, sebab saya share tab ni kan, saya google sekejap, I'll show you pokok kemunting. Khusus kepada orang yang tak pernah tengok ya. Kemunting. Ni buah dia. Cantik kan? Okay. So these types of fruits, this is actually a rare fruit, and dia memang orang panggil berry Malaysia lah ya. Dia rasa dia manis, masam-masam manis. So pada orang yang tak pernah makan, macam contohnya macam anak saya tu, saya rasa macam sayangnya you are missing this. Ni baru satu pokok tau. Ada lagi pokok-pokok lain. So macam kalau contohnya macam pokok yang bukan commercial, let's say now it is quite common for you to have buah langsat contohnya. Buah langsat, buah duku, kayu, at least kau tak pernah makan pun pernah dengar, so biasa. Tapi let's say in 50 years to come, bila kita tanya anak-anak zaman tu, buah duku, buah langsat, tak pernah dengar pun, macam gitu. So they are missing on that. So this is how saya rasa macam I need to do something. Okay, I need to conserve, I need to preserve what we have back then. I need to do it now so that the next generation can have the same fun, can have can have fun lah, eating that fruit or learning about the fruit. In fact, saya bawa anak saya paksa dia makan pucuk asam gelugur. Saya tanam dia kat rumah juga. Saya suruh dia makan, dia kata, "Mama, you're eating leaves." Dia kata, "No, it's not leaves, it's a shoot of saya sebutlah Garcinia altroviridis." Okay, so budak-budak tak pernah makan pokok asam gelugur tu, dia rasa macam excited to learn that you can consume that type of shoots. And dia rasa dia masam, saya kata rasa macam lemon, sebelum dia tak adalah macam lemon tapi masam gitu kan. So we relate all of those things, all the things that we have within us with the knowledge that we have. Okay, so benda macam itulah saya rasa we need to conserve what we have at the moment for our future generation. Alright, so we'll carry on with the next part of our lecture, conservation of biodiversity. Okay, macam mana kita nak conserve biodiversity? We have two methods in conserving biodiversity. We have in situ and also ex situ. Senang je nak bezakan in situ and ex situ. In is macam inside, within. Ex situ is external, okay? Di luar daripada kawasan, okay? So the definition for in situ conservation is conservation activities where the species naturally occur in the wild. Okay, ex situ is removing the species from its natural habitat. Okay, in situ ni macam kita gazette taman negara atau kita gazette kawasan-kawasan tertentu sebagai kawasan pemeliharaan haiwan tu. Kalau ex situ, you remove the animal species of the plant species from its natural habitat. Kalau macam if you go to Cameron Highland, we have CHIMP, CHIMP, Cameron Highland, Cameron Highland, Mountain Forest Park. Aku tak silap saya macam tu lah. Okay, so CHIMP tu, CHIMP is actually an area on which they transplant tree species from different places around Malaysia, and they transplant it in CHIMP. Dia ambil Nepenthes daripada Gua Stone, Gunung Stone in Kelantan, dia tanam kat situ. Dia ambil Nepenthes daripada Johor, dia tanam kat situ. Dia ambil daripada gunung apa tadi kat Kedah tu, dia tanam situ. Okay, they want to see and they want to conserve, okay, Nepenthes from all over Malaysia. They put it in one place, they look after the plants. That is ex situ. Okay, kita ambil daripada luar, kita keluarkan daripada habitat asal, we put it somewhere else, we look after their growth. Okay, kalau in situ dia memang duduk kat situ. Alright, so besides that we also have legislation and also organization. For example, we have different NGOs on which they are playing active roles in conserving the biodiversity, and of course legislation is very important. Okay, therefore the legislation is very important by having strict enforcement process. Alright, so let's look at in situ conservation. Macam saya kata tadi, in situ is inside, okay? Inside, you do not remove, you do not extract, okay? You leave it as it is, but you look after the place, okay? To protect and preserve threatened or endangered species in as natural an environment as possible. For example, we have the Taman Negara National Park, and then for the marine park, we have the Mustafa Marine Park, okay? Maknanya, we are trying to protect the area, protect the species within the area by gazetting the habitat as national park and also as marine park. So bila di gazette as national park and marine park, you cannot simply do any activities as you wish. Okay, tak boleh. Dia ada aktiviti tertentu yang you boleh buat dan yang you tak boleh buat. Kan, macam kat dekat Taman Negara ni, you tak boleh pergi tangkap ikan kelah. Tak boleh pergi ambil net or pergi mancing ikan kelah ke, tak boleh. Okay, you can't do that. Okay, dilarang. Sama juga in marine park, you are not allowed to extract or remove any marine resources from there. Coral ke, gory tu ke, yang macam siput tu kan, ataupun ikan kecil-kecil ke, apatah lagi ikan besar, memang tak boleh. You can't do that. What you can do is you can go to marine park area, have a dive, have a swimming, have a snorkeling, but you are not allowed to touch or to bring the things that you've seen in there, seaweed ke apa ke, tak boleh. Ambil ke, pegang ke apa, tak boleh. Right? Okay, so this is how we conserve species in their natural habitat called in situ. Right, besides that, we also have Malaysia's Permanent Forest Reserve, and we also have Wildlife Sanctuary. Okay, kalau ada masa tu nanti pergilah dekat Kuala Gandah, kita ada Pusat Pemeliharaan Gajah dekat Kuala Gandah tu. Okay, boleh pergi tengok. Kalau ada yang duduk kat Sabah tu semua, boleh pergi tengok yang dekat Kinabatangan ni lah. Alright, and then we have ex situ. Ex situ ni is where you remove. Okay, you remove or you transplant or you relocate the species, animal species or plant species from their original habitat. An example of ex situ conservation are zoos, botanical garden and aquaria. Aquaria ni macam you pergi aquaria KLCC tu kan, you will see different types of marine animals, you will see different types of freshwater fishes kat situ. Dia ambil daripada habitat asal, bring it in one place and they look after the species. So that is ex situ. Sama juga macam zoo lah. Dekat zoo kan kita ada giraffe kan, kat Malaysia tak ada giraffe pun kan, tapi dia ambil giraffe pada negara lain, they bring it to you so that you can appreciate the different species of animals. So that is ex situ. Kita relocate, okay, the species from their original habitat. We have different examples. We have banyaklah tempat. Okay, for example, National Botanical Garden, National Zoo Malaysia, Aquaria, KLCC. Those are the place on which you can see animals without you going into the habitat. They come to you. Okay. For ex situ conservation, they can also function as recreational area ni yang macam National Botanical Garden lah, recreational area. Dan sekarang pun kalau pergi zoo pun di consider as part of recreational activities for families kan. So seronok lah benda-benda macam ni kan. You as a student, selain macam pergi mall kan, nak pergi tengok wayang ke apa semua, okay boleh je macam tu, tapi at the same time selit-selit sikit pergi tempat-tempat yang macam ni. Okay, going to the zoo or going to the botanical garden, going to recreational park yang ada taman burung ke, taman insect farm ke apa ke, macam tu lah. It's so fun. Okay, it's very fun. I bring my every SEM we have field work away from the campus. Ada satu masa tu saya bawa ke insect and butterfly farm in Cameron Highland. Okay, kat sana saya tunjukkan bukan saya tunjuk, I ask my student to look for stick insects. I ask them to look for stick insect dan dia cari dekat situ, dia tak jumpa. Dia cari tak jumpa. Kemudian ada seorang student tu jumpa stick insect, and the excitement dekat muka student tu saya sampai sekarang rasa seronok. Sebab dia tengok stick insect in real life. Selalu saya tunjuk dalam kelas kan, gambarkan. So bila dia jumpa, saya dah kata siapa yang dah jumpa jangan tunjuk. Cakap je dah jumpa. Dia pun macam dah jumpa. Macam tu seronok sangat kan. Lepas tu kawan-kawan dia mana. So semua orang mencari dari sekitar pokok tu sebab dia satu pokok. Dia macam like a group of trees yang ditanam dekat-dekat. Dekat situ ada stick insect and also leaf insect. Kami jumpa masa tu stick insect, kata saya ke leaf insect macam tu lah. Tapi the excitement student tu bila dia tengok dengan mata dia sendiri tu is priceless. So those are the thing yang saya rasa macam orang kata a feeling that each biology student must experience. Okay, the feeling to see, to feel the specimens ataupun the insects ke, the animals ke, the plants ke, using your own bare hands tu is priceless. So benda macam tu lah, kan? So this is ex situ conservation. And then for ex situ juga kita ada other methods such as seed banks, okay, gene banks, tissue bank, long-term captive breeding and also cryopreservation of gametes. Yang ni dah yang agak-agak barulah. Cryopreservation, gene bank tu dah agak barulah. Tapi baru pun bukan dalam masa 10 tahun yang ni, dah ke belakang lagi. Okay, tapi fairly new method compared to yang macam kita ada zoo semua tu lah. Alright, so there are some examples here. We have Lentang Seed Center in Pahang, and then we have Free Seed Technology Laboratory. So tu semua tu adalah part of the method in conserving our biodiversity. Kita simpan benih-benih tu yang kita ambil daripada hutan, daripada kampung. Mardi memang buat ni lah, yang saya pergi hari tu, Mardi memang pergi ke kampung-kampung. Dia tengok orang kampung tu tanam pokok apa, pokok yang menarik tak ada lagi dalam seed bank dia akan ambil dan simpan seed tu. And then some of the seed tu dia memang tanam sehingga menjadi anak pokok. Okay, dan anak pokok tu boleh kita minta dengan Mardi kalau you know about activity macam replanting or you know about activity, any enrichment activity within your area. So dia kata boleh minta lah, buat surat dan minta anak pokok daripada Mardi. Okay. So the third one is legislation and enforcement. Okay, some countries have law to preserve and conserve rare, endangered or threatened species. Okay, samalah Malaysia pun ada. We have our very own law to preserve and to conserve our species, especially species with high economic value and also species that are now endangered or threatened. Kita memang nak kena buat macam tu lah. That's why ada haiwan-haiwan tertentu yang kita tak boleh buru, kita tak boleh bunuh. Tapi kalau macam aborigines, okay, orang-orang asal ni dia boleh. Macam kita tak boleh masuk dalam hutan dan bunuh rusa. Tapi kalau orang asli yang duduk situ, dia boleh bunuh sebagai sumber makanan only. Okay, they can't hunt the animal for recreation or for orang kata for economic purposes. They can't. They can only do that if that animal is for food. Okay, boleh guna untuk makanan ataupun kalau diguna untuk pakaian ke boleh lah, tapi untuk dia own benefits, bukan untuk diniagakan. Alright, so we also have global agencies that look into preserving and conserving biodiversity. For example, we have United Nations, dan kita ada projek dengan UNDP, on which UNDP ni sangat aktif lah in activities or in programs to preserve and conserve biodiversity, macam yang kita buat dekat Central Forest Pine sekarang. Okay, and then we have the role of NGO macam yang kita ada ni, WWF, very active as well. Kita ada IUCN, okay, these are some of the organization that helped in educating people about the importance of biodiversity. Okay, saya ada subscribe lah dengan WWF ni. So ramailah lecturer kat sini sebenarnya subscribe to WWF ni sebab kita setiap bulan kita sedekahkan sikit lah, a small amount of money to help WWF to fund their activities. Aktiviti dia banyak. Kadang dia pergi ke sekolah-sekolah, giving, handing out orang kata flyers, merchandise about animals. Kan hari tu pasal harimau dia bagi token dekat locals dekat mall, so that people get to know our wild animal. Okay, kadang-kadang dia fund other activities jugalah, dia bawa orang pergi hutan buat activity this and that. So those are the thing yang actually helping people to so that they tend to be more appreciative of our wild animals. Kalau tidak kita akan rasa macam alah, wild animals tak apa je, tak ada baik kita kan. Tapi no, we want, kalau boleh lah, all people to feel and to have the same feeling that we have on which our biodiversity has to be conserved. Cuma kita je tak perasan kan, macam kalau macam wild boar tu babi hutan lah, babi liar dalam hutan tu, bagi kita tak apalah, nak bunuh je lah kan, macam gitu. Tapi sebenarnya they are very important. Ecological role dia, ecological function in the forest tu sebenarnya sangat penting. Kalau dia tak ada, hutan kawasan tu akan jadi terganggu. Okay, because wild boar ni, it helps in sebab dia pun ada predation interaction as well. Okay, dia bersihkan hutan, kemudian dia juga menjadi sumber makanan for any other larger animals. So if you think that removing or reducing the number of wild boar is okay, that is actually wrong lah. Sebab setiap haiwan tu dia ada fungsi dia masing-masing. So dia kena ada. Cumanya we have to control the numbers. Kita tak boleh macam we have some species on which we are so fond of, macam kita ada flagship species kan, macam we have the tapir kan. And then flagship species lagi apa lagi, haiwan-haiwan yang comel-comel macam kat China tu panda. That is what we call flagship species. Maknanya haiwan yang menjadi ikon, okay, kat kawasan tu. Disebabkan they are flagship species, okay, you do not want to control their population, that is also wrong. Okay, we have to control their population, but at the same time you are not allowed to significantly reduce their number because it will affect the whole ecosystem, okay, within that area. Kalau forest lah, forest ecosystem. Kalau marine ecosystem lah, bergantung kepada ni. Sama juga macam marine kan, kalau kita suka coral reefs, you cannot simply have tons of activities on preserving the coral reefs, tapi yang lain you biar, tak boleh juga. Sangat banyak coral reefs pun tak boleh, dia kena sederhana. So you have to control. So this is the role of, this is part of the role for NGOs on which they distribute knowledge and nurture the love for the environment, for the ecosystem itself. So ada dua projek lah yang kita letakkan dalam group ni, dalam slides ni, which is a very significant project that help to conserve and preserve wild animals. Kita ada Project Tiger and Project Elephant. Project Tiger and Project Elephant ni, nama projek dia sangat simple kan, but that is a very powerful project initiated by the government of India. Yang Project Tiger ni, kalau tak silap saya lama 1973 ke saya rasa, 1973, saya pun tak lahir lagi masa tu. Project Tiger was initiated by the government of India to conserve and preserve the tiger population in India. Sebab masa tu dekat India ni kan banyak kawasan yang yang kawasan pokok getah, dan kita toreh getah lah, masa sama dekat Malaysia zaman dulu-dulu lah, ramai orang tanam pokok getah untuk mendapatkan hasil getah tu. Okay, the rubber, ramai, so many people work as rubber tapper. Okay, masa tu products from rubber are diinting masa tu. So besar kawasan yang rubber trees ni is huge area. What happened is that tiger tu dia mengancam keselamatan manusia yang work as a rubber tapper. So what they can do is dia bunuhlah tiger tu, and then it reduce in number in such a way that it affect the ecosystem within that forest. So what the government did was dia buat macam-macam project to preserve the number of tiger that they have at the moment. Saya rasa masa tu ada dalam 1,000 lebih je tiger ke, lebih kurang macam tu lah. Then after some time dia meningkat 2 hingga 3 kali ganda. Tapi that has to be control juga. Dia tak boleh lah terus meningkat kan, macam tu. So kena control. Similarly for Project Elephant. So that's about it for my lecture today. Thank you very much students for being with me daripada pukul 10 tadi kan. I'm so sorry atas segala kekurangan, kelemahan semua datang daripada saya. Terima kasih pelajar. I hope kalau tak banyak pun sedikit dapatlah ilmu daripada apa yang saya share today. So before I end my lecture, I would like to quote, okay? Quote orang kata ayat-ayat lah daripada wise man called Robert Swan. Okay, he said the greatest threat to our planet is the belief that someone else will save it. Kita beri tugas kepada tak apalah nak conserve ni semua, kita bagi je NGO, biar je orang lain. That is actually the greatest threat. So sebenarnya semua orang, everybody is important. Everybody has the apa orang kata, the power to change the world. Tapi bukanlah change the world yang kita buat something terus nampak perubahan, tak. Okay, it cannot be seen in a short time, but you can reap what you sow later on. Mungkin in the next generation, kalau bukan anak you, cucu you, macam tu lah. So with that, I end my lecture. Thank you so much. Assalamualaikum, and I leave the floor to Madam Nur Shakirin.